Chapter 3. It's nearly dawn when I wake up. I draw the curtain back and take a look. It must have just stopped raining since everything is still dripping wet. Clouds to the east are sharply etched against the sky, each one framed by light. The sky looks ominous one minute, inviting the next. It all depends on the angle. The bus plows down the highway at a steady pace, the tires humming along, never getting any louder or softer. Same with the engine. Its monotonous sound like a motor, smoothly grinding down time and the consciousness of the people on board. The other passengers are all sunk back in their seats, asleep, the curtains drawn tight. The driver and I are the only ones awake, we being carried efficiently and numbly towards our destination. Feeling thirsty, I take a bottle of mineral water from the pocket of my backpack and drink some of the lukewarm water. From the same pocket, I take out a box of soda crackers and munch a few, enjoying that familiar dry taste. According to my watch, it's 4:32. I check the date and day of the week, just to be on the safe side. 13 hours since I left home. Time hasn't looked ahead more than it should, or done an unexpected about-face. It's still my birthday, still the first day of my brand new life. I shut my eyes, open them again checking the time and date on my watch. Then I switch on the reading light, getting out a paperback book and start reading. Just after 5, without warning, the bus pulls off the highway and comes to a stop in a corner of the roadside rest area. The front door of the bus opens with an airy hiss, lights blink on inside, and the bus driver makes a brief announcement. Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good rest. We are on schedule and should arrive in our final stop at the Nakaata station in about an hour. But we are stopping here for a 20-minute break. We'll be leaving again at 5:30, so please be sure to be back on board by then. The announcement wakes up most of the passengers, and they struggle wordlessly to their feet, yawning as they stumble out of the bus. This is where people make themselves presentable before arriving in Takamatsu. I get off too, take a couple of deep breaths, and do some simple stretching exercises in the fresh morning air. I walk over to the men's toilet and splash some water on my face. I'm wondering where the devil we are. I go outside and look around. Nothing special, just the typical roadside scenery you find everywhere next to a highway. Maybe I'm just imagining things, but the shape of the hills and the color of the trees seem different from those back in Tokyo. I am inside the cafeteria, sipping a free cup of hot tea, when this young girl comes over and plonks herself down on a plastic seat next to me. In her right hand, she has a paper cup of hot coffee she bought in a vending machine, the steam rising from it, and in her left hand, she is holding a small container with sandwiches inside. Another bit of vending machine gourmet fare, by the looks of it. She is kind of funny looking. Her face is out of balance, broad forehead, button nose, freckle checks, and pointy ears. A slammed together, rough sort of face you can't ignore. Still, the whole package isn't so bad. For all I know, she is not so wild about her look herself, but she seems comfortable with who she is, and that's the important thing. There's something childish about her that has a calming effect, at least on me. She isn't very tall, but has good-looking legs and a nice bust for such a slim body. Her thin metal earrings sparkle like duralumin. She wears her dark brown, almost reddish-dyed hair down to her shoulders and has on long-sleeved crew-neck shirt with white strips. A small leather backpack hangs from one shoulder and a light sweater is tied around her neck. A cream-colored mini skirt completes her outfit, with no stockings. She has evidently washed her face, since a few strands of her hair, like the thin roots of a plant, are plastered to her broad forehead. Strangely enough, those loose strands of hair draw me to her. You were on the bus, weren't you? She asks me, her voice a little husky. Yeah, that's right. She frowns as she takes a sip of the coffee. How old are you? 17. I lie. So you're in high school. I nod. Where are you headed? Takamatsu. Same with me, she says. Are you visiting or do you live there? Visiting, I reply. Me too. I have a friend there, a girlfriend of mine. How about you? Relatives? I see, her nod says. No more questions. I've got a younger brother the same age as you. She suddenly tells me, as if she had just remembered. Things happened and we haven't seen each other for a long time. You know something? You look a lot like that guy. Anybody ever tell you that? What guy? You know the guy who sings in the band? As soon as I saw you in the bus, I thought you looked like him. But I can't come up with his name. I must have busted a hole in my brain trying to remember. This happens sometimes, doesn't it? It's on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't think of it. Hasn't anybody said that to you before? That you remind them of somebody? I shake my head. Nobody's ever said that to me. She's still staring at me, eyes narrowed intently. What kind of person do you mean? I ask. A TV guy. A guy who's on TV? Right, she says, picking up her ham sandwich and taking an uninspired bite, washing it down with a sip of coffee. A guy who sings in some band. Darn, I can't think of the band's name either. This tall guy who has a Kansai accent. You don't have any idea who I mean? Sorry, I don't watch TV. The girl frowns and gives me a hard look. You don't watch at all? I shake my head silently. Wait a sec. Should I nod or shake my head here? I'll go with the nod. Not very talkative, are you? One line at a time seems your style. Are you always so quiet? I blush. I'm sort of a quiet type to begin with, but part of the reason I don't want to say much is that my voice hasn't broken completely. Most of the time, I have got kind of a low voice, but all of a sudden, it turns on me and lets out a squeak. So I try to keep whatever I say short and sweet. Anyway, she goes on, what I'm trying to say is that you look a lot like that singer with a Kansai accent. Not that you have a Kansai accent or anything, it's just, I don't know, there's something about you that's a lot like him. He seems to be a really nice guy, that's all. Her smile steps off stage for a moment, then does an encore, and all the while I'm dealing with my blushing face. You'd resemble him even more if he changed your hair, she says. Let it grow out a little. Use some gel to make it flip up a bit. I'd love to give it a try. You definitely look good with that. Actually, I'm a hairdresser. I nod and sip my tea. The cafeteria is dead silent. None of the usual background music. Nobody else talking besides the two of us. Maybe you don't like talking, she says, resting her head in one hand and giving me a serious look. I shake my head. No, that's not it. You think it's a pain to talk to people? Another shake of my head. She picks up her other sandwich with strawberry jam instead of ham, then frowns and gives me this look of disbelief. Would you eat this for me? I hate strawberry jam sandwiches more than anything ever since I was little. I take it from her. Strawberry jam sandwiches aren't exactly on my top 10 list either, but I don't say a word and start eating. From across the table, she watches until I finish every last crumb. Could you do me a favor? She says. A favor? Can I sit next to you until we get to the Komatsu? I just can't relax when I sit by myself. I always feel like some weird person's going to plop himself down next to me, and then I can't get to sleep. When I bought my ticket, they told me they're all single sets, but when I got on, I saw they're all doubles. I just want to catch 40 wings before we arrive, and you seem like a nice guy. Do you mind? No problem. Thanks, she says. In traveling, a companion, as the saying goes. I nod. Nod, nod, nod. That's all I seem capable of. But what should I say? How does that end? She asks. How does what end? After a companion, how does it go? I can't remember. I never was very good at Japanese. In life, compassion, I say. In traveling, a companion. In life, compassion, she repeats, making sure of it. If she had paper and pencil, it wouldn't surprise me if she wrote it down. So what does that really mean in simple terms? I think it over. It takes me a while to gather my thoughts, but she waits patiently. I think it means, I say, that chance encounters are what keep us going in simple terms. She mulls that over for a while, then slowly brings her hands together on top of the table and rests them there lightly. I think you're right about that chance encounters keep us going. I glance at my watch. It's 5:30 already. Maybe we better be getting back. Yeah, I guess so. Let's go, she says, making no move though to get up. By the way, where are we? I ask. I have no idea, she says. She cranes her neck and sweeps the place with her eyes. Her earrings jiggle back and forth like two precious pieces of ripe fruit ready to fall. From the time I'm guessing, we're near Kurashiki. Not that it matters. A highway rest area is just a place you pass through, getting from here to there. She holds up her right index finger and her left index finger about 12 inches apart. What does it matter what it's called? She continues. You have got your toilets and your food, your fluorescent lights and your plastic chairs, crappy coffee, strawberry jam sandwiches. It's all pointless assuming you try to find out a point to that. We're coming from somewhere, heading somewhere else. That's all you need to know, right? I nod, and nod, and nod. When we get back to the bus, all the other passengers are already abroad with just us holding things up. The driver's a young guy with this intense look that reminds me of some stern watchman. He turns a reproachable gaze on the pair of us, but doesn't say anything, and the girl shoots him with an innocent, "Sorry, we're late" smile. He reaches out to push a lever, and the door hisses closed. The girl lugs a little suitcase over and sits down next to me. A nothing kind of suitcase she must have picked up at some discount place. I pick it up for her and store it in the overhead rack. Pretty heavy for its size. She thanks me and then reclines her seat and fades off to sleep. As if it can hardly wait to get going, the bus starts to roll the instant we get settled. I put out my paper bag and pick up where I'd left off. The girl soon fast asleep, and as the bus sways through each curve, her head leans against my shoulder, finally coming to rest there. Mouth closed, she is breathing quietly through her nose, the breath grazing my shoulder at regular beats. I look down and catch a glimpse of a brass strap through the collar of her crew-neck shirt. A thin cream-colored strap. I picture the delicate fabric at the end of that strap, the soft breasts beneath, the pink nipples taut under my fingertips. Not that I'm making any effort to imagine all this, but I can't help it. And no surprise, I get a massive hurt-on, so rigid it makes me wonder, how can any part of your body could ever get so rock hard? Just then a thought hits me. Maybe, just maybe, this girl's my sister. She's about the right age. Her outlooks aren't at all like the girl in the photo, but you can't always count on that. Depending on how they're taken, people sometimes
look completely, totally different. She said she has a brother my age who she hasn't seen in ages. Couldn't that brother be me? In theory, at least? I stare at her chest. As she breathes, the rounded peaks move up and down like the swell of waves, somehow reminding me of rain falling softly on a broad stretch of sea. I am the lone voyager standing on the deck, and she is the sea. The sky is a blanket of grey, merging with the grey sea off on the horizon. It's hard to tell the difference between the sea and sky, between voyager and sea, between reality and the workings of the heart. The girl wears 2 rings on her fingers, neither of which is a wedding or engagement ring. Just cheap things you find at those little boutiques girls shop at. Her fingers are long and thin, but look strong. The nails are short and nicely trimmed with light pink varnish. Her hands are resting lightly on the knees thrust out from her miniskirt. I want to touch those hands, but of course I don't. Asleep, she looks like a young child. One pointy ear peeks out from the strands of her hair like a little mushroom, strangely fragile. I shut my book and look for a while at the passing scenery, but very soon, before I realize it, I fall asleep myself.